Whispers of the past beckon me onward. The storm within me mirrors the tempest without. The homeward path is littered with shadows and secrets. The journey home begins.
The Odyssey by Homer. Penelope keeps the household running while unwanted guests linger in her hall. At her loom, she buys time with patient skill. Antinous treats the great hall as if it belongs to him. His confidence grows every time no one contradicts him. Eurymachus smiles easily and speaks as if charm were a law. Behind polished words, he calculates what to take next. Amphinomus watches the disorder and feels a flicker of doubt. He senses that patience in the house is becoming a quiet strategy. Telemachus feels the weight of his father's absence and the noise in his home. He decides to seek answers beyond the shore. Euryclea steadies the household with practiced hands and quiet resolve. She encourages Telemachus to hold to his better self. Telemachus prepares a small ship in secret, working quickly and quietly. The first step away from home feels like a test of courage. At sea, Telemachus learns to read wind and darkness. He repeats his questions to himself until they sound like vows. Helen receives Telemachus with grace and sharp attention. Her stories suggest that endurance can outlast rumor. Telemachus listens closely and gathers clues like precious cargo. He leaves with renewed purpose and a steadier heart. Penelope hears uncertain news carried by travelers and servants. She refuses to show fear, even to herself. Odysseus lives on a distant island, surrounded by ease he never asked for. Each evening he faces the horizon and chooses longing over comfort. Odysseus builds a raft with careful knots and steady hands. Every bound log is a promise to keep moving. A hard storm breaks over the open water and tests his resolve. He grips the rigging and keeps his eyes on a narrow line of hope. Nausicaa finds a weary stranger near the water and does not panic. She offers practical help with calm authority. Nausicaa points out the safest path and the best way to approach a great hall. Her kindness stays firm, not sentimental. Arete studies the stranger with a gaze that misses nothing. She hears his request and weighs his character before she answers. Odysseus speaks humbly in the great hall and asks only for passage home. His voice stays steady, but his eyes betray years of weariness. Arete arranges gifts that honor a guest without spoiling him. Her decision sets the household's generosity in motion. Odysseus begins to tell his long story, choosing truth over pride. As he speaks, the past returns like wind off the sea. On a strange shore, sweet fruit makes forgetting feel tempting. Odysseus turns away, refusing to trade memory for ease. He explores a rocky cave marked by enormous footprints and a heavy silence. The place feels owned by something far larger than a man. A one-eyed giant returns to the cave, and Odysseus keeps his mind quick and his posture calm. He offers wine and a careful name meant to mislead. Odysseus slips away by a clever route and reaches the sea again. From the boat, he sees the one-eyed figure searching in confusion on the cliff. A host gives Odysseus a tightly tied bag that holds restless winds. He guards it like a fragile secret. A loosened knot releases the stored winds, and the sea changes in an instant. Home vanishes behind a wall of spinning spray. Odysseus reaches an island where a quiet house stands among thick woods. Gentle, enchanted animals watch him with unnerving intelligence. Inside the house, an enchantress offers comfort that feels like soft fog. Odysseus insists on clear terms, and the enchantment loosens its hold. Odysseus travels to a shore of shadows to seek guidance. In the dim air, distant voices speak of patience and restraint. A grave voice warns him to respect what is sacred and to mistrust easy choices. Odysseus leaves with answers that feel heavier than questions. Sirens sing from a rocky coast, promising impossible knowledge in honeyed sound. Odysseus blocks the temptation and keeps the ship moving. A narrow passage forces him between a whirlpool and a cliff cave, where a many-headed sea creature watches. He chooses a steady course and refuses to look back. On an island of bright pastures, sacred cattle graze under a radiant sky. Odysseus urges discipline, fearing the cost of disrespect. A new storm rises, scattering the ship and leaving Odysseus alone with drifting wood. He endures by stubborn breath and steady focus. He reaches shore exhausted and sits in the sand until his thoughts slow. Even after everything, the idea of home stays clear. Arete completes the final preparations for a safe journey. Her gifts are simple promises: food, cloth, and a path forward. Odysseus sleeps on the deck while the ship glides over calm water. For the first time in years, his face looks unguarded. He wakes on a familiar shoreline and doubts his own senses. The scent of earth and olive leaves settles the truth into his chest. Odysseus adopts a rough disguise to learn who still honors his household. He chooses patience over sudden revelation. Eumaeus lives simply and keeps his integrity intact. He offers food and shelter to a stranger without asking for payment. Eumaeus speaks of the household's troubles with quiet anger and steady loyalty. His kindness becomes a safe harbor. Telemachus returns by sea and steps onto the sand with a changed stride. He heads inland, ready to act with care. Telemachus reaches the hut and finds unexpected calm inside it. A familiar voice turns his uncertainty into relief. Odysseus reveals himself to his son and holds the moment in silence. Years of distance shrink into a single shared breath. Father and son plan quietly, counting allies and risks. They decide to remove temptation from the hall and let truth arrive at the right moment. Penelope prepares a test that only her husband would understand. She keeps her face calm while her mind runs like a loom. Melantho enjoys the suitor's confidence and mocks the household's restraint. Her laughter sounds sharp in the long corridors. Antinous boasts and demands more, mistaking patience for weakness. His certainty blinds him to the change in the air. Eurymachus rehearses charming phrases and believes words can bend any room. He does not notice how quickly charm can turn stale. Amphinomus hesitates, sensing that an unseen line has been crossed. He wonders whether leaving now would be wiser than winning later. Eurycleia notices a familiar scar while performing a simple task and understands who the stranger is. She steadies herself and keeps the secret. Eurycleia hides her reaction behind routine and locks her knowledge away. Loyalty, for her, is a kind of quiet discipline. In the great hall, Odysseus lifts an old bow as a test of identity and steadiness. The string settles into place beneath his hands. Penelope demands a private sign that cannot be faked. She speaks of the bed built around a living tree and waits for the right answer. Odysseus describes the hidden craft of the bed and the tree that anchors it. The last doubt loosens, and he allows himself to be home. Laertes lives among trees and tools, avoiding the noise of the hall. He tends the orchard as if each branch were a memory. Odysseus visits his father and offers gentle proof through shared memories and old tokens. The reunion is quiet, like sunlight through leaves. Telemachus begins restoring order with ledgers, repairs, and patient listening. He learns that leadership can sound like calm. Antinous gathers his belongings and leaves under the weight of public shame. The hall finally begins to feel like a home again. Penelope returns to her loom, weaving with a steadier heart. The household's peace is not perfect, but it is finally real.